I walked into an examination room on Monday and encountered a visibly upset mother sitting there with her 16-year-old son. She was concerned because the coach told her on Saturday, while playing as quarterback for the high school team, he sustained a little concussion. No big deal. He'll be just fine. He'll be okay to come back to practice and to play next week. But just wanted to let you know that your son had a little bit of an injury. Well, I wasn't there, so I didn't know about all that. And I just really am concerned. He doesn't seem quite right. He's now like 2-3 days out from this, and he's kind of groggy and a little bit foggy, and he's just not himself. So the first thing that I want to know, Doc, is what the heck is a concussion? So I explained to her a concussion occurs when the head is hit so hard that the brain is actually bruised. The brain is shocked against the skull, and a bruise occurs. And when that happens, symptoms are really typical of some dizziness, of visual disturbances, maybe memory problems, maybe loss of appetite, some nausea, even some vomiting, just symptoms that are what happened when the brain is injured. And that's just really important. So she said, well, gosh, is he going to be okay? His brain has been injured, and is he going to recover from this all right? Well, so I said, most likely he will, and most likely there won't be any permanent kind of damage. But it's important to understand that if he were to get another concussion during practice this week, or another concussion during the game next Saturday, it could be permanent. It could mean permanent loss of good vision, his ability to hear, to perform well in school, to walk properly, to be able to run like he did. And even though I was reluctant to tell her this, I said, this could even result in death. It's not uncommon if you get a second concussion on top of a first one when it's not yet healed, that death is actually a part of some stuff can happen. So it's really important that you're here, and it's really important that we're talking about it to protect your son. And so then she said, well, is he okay to practice? Can you help me understand that? So I said, well, let's examine him. Let's take a look and see what's going on here. So I got him up on the exam table, did a careful examination, examining his nervous system and his heart and lungs and so forth. But I was particularly struck by the fact that when I asked him, can you repeat back to me in a couple of 2 or 3 minutes these three things: a black dog, a ball, and a pencil. So then I did a little bit more exam and talked to Mom a little bit more, and then I said, okay, I want you to tell me, what were those three things I wanted you to remember? He couldn't do it. He said it's a black something, I don't know. And so here, this is a kid who could be the valedictorian of his class. So certainly he has the ability to remember three simple objects. So it was pretty clear to me that it was not time to return to practice. It was not time to be back in the game and return to sport. And I told Mom that. So she said, well, what are we going to do? I said, well, there's a well-established protocol by the CDC that outlines the 6 steps of returning to practice. And this all has to do whether or not symptoms are clear during those 6 steps. The symptoms of dizziness, visual disturbances, as I said, the loss of appetite, those kinds of things. If they persist or are present during the steps, you can't move on to the next step. So if you're in, like, we'll call it step 3, and you get symptoms back again, you got to move back to step 2 and rest some more and so forth. So what are the 6 steps? Well, here's basically a summary. First step is complete rest, or pretty much complete rest. No activities in school, minimum reading, reduced screen time, maybe a light walk, but for the most part, rest. If symptoms do not return during that time, the dizziness, lightheadedness, visual stuff, it's okay to move on to step 2. In step 2, you return to school. You can read more, a little bit more screen time, light walking, but minimize that. But just, usual sort of non-stressful activities. If symptoms don't return or don't occur during that time, it's permissible to go to step 3. In step 3, there's moderate activity. There's some jogging. There's some running. A little bit more with the exercise bike. Step 4 is a little heavier. It's no contact though. Absolutely no contact. But it does include some limited weight activities, and it does include non-contact sport drills. Symptoms not back. He's doing okay. There's no dizziness, visual disturbance, loss of appetite, nausea, and he seems to be feeling pretty well. You can move on then into step 5, which is full contact in practice with close observation. Again, if symptoms don't return during that time, it would be okay to move on to step 6. But if they do return, move back to step 4. Do the moderate exercise again, no weightlifting. Move back then into step 5. And if step 5, no symptoms, all's well, it's game time. Full contact. It's time to get back into the game, to get back into the sport, to get back into participation. So we went through all that, and I told her, if you'd like to know more, just Google CDC Return to Sport. It'll expand on this a little, it'll clarify it more, and we'll be good to go. And she said, well, how are we going to follow all this? So what I suggested is that I would see him again in a couple of 2 or 3 days. We'd run him through the protocol, the steps. I explained to her it's pretty important to have somebody evaluate him who's independent of the coach, of the team physicians, the athletic trainers, because they do want him back. They do want their star quarterback back. But until a person independent who has no conflict of interest but has the student's best interest in mind should be doing the evaluation. This is Dr. Jim for Be Healthy, Be Happy. We've been talking about concussions today. Take care of your children. Take care of your loved ones. Power your path to happiness.